Children are the first to believe in miracles and hope for the manifestation of magic. But adults, unfortunately, faced with the rigors of everyday life, often only trust facts and certainly do not hope for a miracle. But at the same time, there are cases where even the most inveterate skeptics are ready to believe in miracles. That's exactly what our incredible story will be about, which happened to a little girl, Bella, and her parents from the UK. Father, Lee, and mother, Francesca, were a happy, loving couple. At that time, the happy parents already had a young son, and they were over the moon when they knew that their family was going to have a new member. But when little Bella was born, Lee and Francesca were sure that they were the happiest family in the whole world. Overall, love and idyll ruled the house. But as often happens, a black streak appears unexpectedly, and at a time when no one expects it. Bella was the healthiest girl until she was 14 months old, but after that, all sorts of strange things began to happen to her. First of all, she was not feeling well and coughing a lot, and secondly, suddenly she began to lose her hair. In the morning, her mother collected whole shreds of the little girl's hair near the crib, and soon, doctors suspected asthma, after which they prescribed an inhaler for the girl. Over time, things seemed to settle down. Her parents let go of the worst thoughts, and in summer, the family went on holiday to Spain. What could be better than the sun and sea air? For a few days, the family had fun and enjoyed their vacation, but on the third day, Bella had an attack and she felt sick. Urgently, the parents with the babies returned to England to put their daughter in the hospital soon and to finally find answers to their questions. And the day after, they were informed of the terrible news. As it turned out, Bella had been diagnosed with mitochondrial disease. It is a disease that kills all cells in the body and inevitably leads to the failure of all organs. The parents were ready to hear anything, but the doctor's next words were like thunder from out of the blue. Unfortunately, we have bad news. The disease is constantly progressing and getting worse. Bella can no longer be cured. There is no cure for this disease, the doctor told the parents, and lowered his eyes to the floor. By that time, the girl was already in a critical condition on an artificial lung ventilation. The doctors told that the disease is very uncommon, about 1 in 60,000 newborns, adding that they actually had a child with the same diagnosis once before, and the problem was a biotinidase deficiency. But back then, they couldn't save the baby. All they could do was just give little Bella biotin, or simply put, vitamin H. But even that didn't help. Doctors fought for the little princess's life for 2 more weeks, but it was no longer possible to save her. At one point, the little girl was on the verge of life and death, and the doctors had to make a difficult decision, because they knew that it's time to pull the baby off the ventilator. They informed the parents that, unfortunately, medicine was simply powerless, and July 21st would be Bella's last day of life. That morning, Lee and Francesca came together in their daughter's room with her 5-year-old brother, Bob, and decided to take one last picture. In this photo, Francesca and her husband kissed their baby girl goodbye. They stood in the room and couldn't say goodbye to their baby girl because it was incredibly hard. And in fact, the story could have ended there. But 30 minutes later, something happened that no one expected. There was a child's cry from the room. As Francesca herself said later in the interview, "I kissed her forehead and felt her hand slowly begin to fall down. At that moment, life was leaving our baby, but suddenly she squeezed my finger sharply and hard and began to move on her own." When doctors heard the alarm and parents screaming, they quickly rushed into the room and couldn't believe their eyes. They couldn't believe it. Bella was moving, fidgeting, and screaming. The doctors immediately figured out what was going on and told the parents the best words they could hear. "Oxygen! It's normal! This is unbelievable! Oxygen is coming close to normal!" At that moment, everyone was in happy shock. Half an hour ago, the doctors were sure she was going to die, but now they thought differently. They were furiously trying to save our baby girl. For 20 minutes, they fought for my little girl's life. I just sat there helplessly holding her hand. I was crying. She didn't want to let me go. She was just struggling for life, Lee said later. Enough time has passed since then, and now Bella's parents remember that time like a bad dream. Now the girl is growing up and enjoying life, and now she can proudly call herself reborn. The family is insanely happy that fate has given them a second chance. Nobody has yet been able to explain what it was though, or how such a thing is possible. When my daughter calls me mom, I'm the happiest woman in the world, says Francesca with a smile. The doctors, however, throwing up their hands, say that Bella is a real fighter and a true warrior, adding that she is a true example of never giving up, of having faith and fighting to the end. After all, none of us knows even a fraction of a percent how that very miracle works. Friends, what do you think about this story, and how is it possible? Be sure to write your opinion in the comments. But for today, that's probably all. Rate the video if you liked it, and see you soon. Bye!